Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really interesting for your learning journey. We're looking closely at the material you sent over about self-talk, specifically for English language learners.
That's right. Our mission really is to figure out how that little voice inside your head impacts how you learn English.
And crucially, how you can actually harness it, make it work for you.
Exactly. The sources describe the self-talk as that constant inner voice, the one that's always chatting away, even if we don't always notice it.
Yeah, that quiet thinking voice.
And it can be positive or it can be negative. But either way, it seems to have, well, quite a bit of power over your learning experience.
Totally. Have you ever caught yourself thinking things like, oh, I'm just terrible at English, or maybe I'll never understand this grammar? If that sounds familiar, then this deep dive is definitely for you. We really want to explore how those thoughts are shaping your path forward.
So yeah, our main focus today is understanding the different types, the negative, the positive, and even the neutral self-talk.
And then get into some practical ways you can start shifting away from the negative stuff.
Right. Build up that more supportive inner voice to, boost your learning, your confidence, and just keep you motivated with English.
Okay, so let's dive in. Based on what we've seen, what exactly is self-talk? Can we pin that down a bit?
Fundamentally, it's that internal conversation, isn't it? The things you say to yourself, but inside your head, not out loud.
Right, that constant stream of quiet thoughts. The material gave a good example, like if you hit a word you don't know while reading.
Yeah, and your first thought is, ugh, I'll never get this.
That thought is self-talk, that
Yeah.
little sentence in your mind.
And here's the crucial point the sources make. This inner voice isn't always your friend. It can be positive or it can be negative.
Helping or hurting.
Precisely. It can actively support you, or it can, well, really get in the way of your progress. It's always there, and its tone matters a lot.
The sources listed some pretty common examples of that negative self-talk, things many learners probably recognize.
Oh, definitely. Things like, my accent sounds awful, or I always forget new words.
Or maybe people are going to laugh if I mess up.
Yeah, or just that feeling of English is too hard. And believing those things, the sources argue, can really create mental blocks.
But then there's the flip side, positive self-talk.
Right, which acts more like your personal cheerleader. It's that inner voice offering encouragement.
Like saying, hey, I'm still learning, and that's okay.
Exactly. Or, you know what, I'm getting a little bit better every day. Or even mistakes happen, that's part of it.
I understand more now than I did yesterday. That kind of supportive inner chat.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that even when you're not speaking English out loud, you're often using it in your head.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like thinking, did I say that correctly? Or what's the word for?
That's already internal English practice. So imagine, as the sources suggest, how much more powerful that could be if that voice was consistently encouraging you.
The analogy they used was quite good, I thought. Your self-talk is like your closest study buddy.
Yeah, the one who's with you 24/7, always listening, always commenting.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah,
How important it is to make sure that buddy's actually kind and helpful.
definitely. So what's a good first step for listeners based on this?
The material suggests something really simple to start. Just begin noticing your self-talk. Don't judge it. Just listen in.
Pay attention to what pops into your head when you make a mistake or when something feels confusing.
Exactly. That awareness itself seems to be the first really powerful step. Okay, so we know what it is.
Yeah.
Why is it so important? Why does self-talk matter so much for learning English?
Well, the sources are pretty clear on this. The things you tell yourself, even silently, they have a huge impact, not just on how you feel, but on your actual ability to learn.
It affects your emotions, your motivation.
And even how your brain functions, which is fascinating.
Yeah, that part really stood out. The sources explain that negative self-talk, saying I always mess this up, actually triggers a stress response in the brain, like an alarm bell goes off.
Right. It's almost like your brain thinks there's a threat. And when that happens, it shifts resources.
Away from learning.
Exactly. It's hard to focus, hard to remember things, which are obviously crucial for picking up a language when your brain is busy dealing with stress.
The analogy was like trying to study when you're feeling really anxious or scared. Your mind just isn't in the right place.
Precisely. But conversely, positive self-talk does the opposite. It helps your brain relax.
Saying things like, mistakes help me learn.
Yeah, or just, I can figure this out. It's like taking a deep breath mentally. And in that calmer state, your brain is much more open, more receptive to absorbing new information, new words, grammar, or whatever it is.
The material gave some good scenarios. Like with reading, if you think, I'll never get this. You just feel frustrated.
Overwhelmed. But if you think, okay, I don't get everything yet, but mistakes are how I learn, you feel calmer. You can focus on making progress, even small progress.
And it's the same for speaking, isn't it? Thinking, oh no, I sounded terrible, makes you want to clam up.
Definitely. Leads to embarrassment, maybe avoiding speaking next time, but thinking, okay, mistake made, noted, I'm learning next time. That keeps you going.
What about the brain chemistry? The sources mention hormones.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Negative self-talk can actually release stress hormones like cortisol, which can literally get in the way of clear thinking.
Whereas positive self-talk.
Can help release feel-good chemicals, things like dopamine, serotonin. These boost your mood, your motivation, and actually help your brain function better for learning.
So it's not just about feeling good. Changing your self-talk can actually change how effectively your brain works for learning. That's huge.
It really is. Think about giving a presentation. If you're thinking, I'm going to bomb this, you get nervous, you might even freeze up.
But if you think, okay, I've prepared, I can do this, or even just, if I slip up, it's okay.
You feel more confident, more ready, you perform better.
So the message is quite empowering. You're in control of that inner dialogue. Choose kindness, choose words that help you grow.
Exactly. So let's dig a bit deeper into the different types of self-talk the sources identify: negative, positive, and neutral.
Right. So negative self-talk, as we've touched on, is that inner critic. The voice making you feel bad about yourself or your English skills.
Yeah, the I sound stupid, I'll never learn this, I just can't do it, I always make these mistakes kind of thoughts.
And the sources stress how these thoughts, if you repeat them enough, you start to believe them. They become ingrained.
Which leads to feeling discouraged, obviously, but also that stress reaction we talked about, making learning physically harder.
The example of speaking practice was good. Thinking, I sound so awkward, just makes you anxious about trying again.
Totally. Then you have positive self-talk, which is the opposite. It's empowering.
Like saying, actually, my English is getting better.
Or I'm making progress here, or mistakes are just part of learning for me.
It helps create that relaxed brain state, ready to learn. It's like giving yourself a mental pat on the back, acknowledging the effort.
And even when you do slip up, the positive response is different. Instead of beating yourself up,
It's more like, okay, mistake noted, that's fine, I'm learning, I'll aim to do better next time.
Oh.
It keeps you motivated, feeling okay about the effort,
And then there's the third type, neutral self-talk.
which is just stating facts, right? Without much emotion.
Exactly. Like, I made a mistake there, or I need to practice this grammar point more.
It's factual, but the sources point out it kind of lacks that spark, that encouragement.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily motivate you or make you feel excited about your progress. It can leave you feeling a bit meh.
So the key seems to be tuning in and noticing which type you use most often.
Right. Asking yourself, am I often thinking, I can? That's negative. Or am I thinking, I'm learning? That's positive. Or just need more practice, neutral.
And the actionable step is, if you find you're mostly negative,
To consciously try replacing those thoughts with positive ones. It sounds simple, but the sources insist it makes a huge difference over time.
like swapping I'm terrible at speaking for I'm doing my best and I'm improving. Focusing on the journey, being kind to yourself.
Because nobody speaks perfectly all the time, right? Especially when learning.
Good point. So negative holds you back, positive lifts you up, neutral is just there. Aim for more positive for motivation and progress.
Exactly. So now we understand the types. Let's really focus on how that negative self-talk specifically hurts your English learning. What are the mechanisms?
Yeah, the sources really dig into the damage it can do. One major thing is fear.
Fear of making mistakes.
Exactly. Constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough or I always mess up, creates this deep fear of saying the wrong thing.
Which can make you freeze up in conversations.
Or avoid them altogether. Thinking,
Yeah.
I'll just embarrass myself. And if you avoid practice, well, you don't improve.
That makes sense. The source scenario was relatable. You want to say something, but that little voice goes, what if it's wrong? What if they laugh?
And you stay silent. Missed chance to practice right there.
And it becomes a cycle, right? Fear leads to hesitation.
Which means less practice, which confirms the fear.
And then there's confidence. Negative self-talk just eats away at it.
Thinking, I can't do this, makes it so much harder to actually try. To use the English, doubt creeps in.
Yeah, it overshadows any actual progress you might be making. You make one small mistake speaking with a friend, maybe.
Ah, bam. That I always make mistakes. Thought pops up, and your confidence just tanks. Makes it harder to speak clearly right then and there.
Whereas if your mindset is mistakes are okay, part of learning, you can brush it off more easily, keep your confidence up.
But the biggest issue, according to the sources, seems to be that brain stress response we mentioned.
The fight or flight kicking in just from your own thoughts.
Yeah. When you're stressed or anxious because of your inner dialogue, it's just incredibly hard to think clearly, relax, or focus.
Like in the middle of a conversation, you start worrying about mistakes. That negative thought, I'm going to mess up, triggers the stress.
Your body tenses up, your mind goes blank, it's harder to find the words.
Your brain is focusing on the threat of the stress, not on the conversation itself.
Whereas positive self-talk keeps the brain calm, confident, open, ready to engage.
So recapping the harm, fear, hesitation, low confidence, and that brain stress response, messing with your ability to think and speak clearly.
It paints a pretty clear picture of why negative self-talk is so detrimental.
But the good news, again, is recognizing this is the first step to changing it, shifting how you approach challenges with positivity, not fear.
Okay, so let's flip it. Let's talk about the science behind positive self-talk. Why does it actually help the brain?
This is the really encouraging part. The sources talk about neuroplasticity.
Which basically means our brains can change and grow, right?
Exactly. Our brains aren't fixed. And the sources use this great analogy. Thoughts are like seeds. Positive thoughts help your brain grow in healthy ways, making learning English easier.
So thinking positive thoughts actually changes the brain structure over time.
In a way, yes. It's like exercising a muscle. Positive thinking helps create and strengthen positive neural pathways. The brain gets better at the things you practice thinking about.
Making learning feel faster, maybe.
Potentially, yes. It helps build those connections. So every time you tell yourself, I'm getting better or I can do this, you're literally helping your brain wire itself for success, planting those good seeds.
Wow. And beyond the structure, there's the immediate effect staying calm and focused.
Right. We talked about the feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin. Positive self-talk helps release those.
Making you feel happier, calmer.
Which directly improves your ability to focus and absorb new information. Less mental energy wasted on stress means more available for learning.
So if you're nervous about speaking, consciously saying, I'm confident I can handle this.
Can actually help calm that physical stress response, relax your brain, and make it easier to access your words and speak clearly. You're not fighting the fear as much.
And this ties into fluency too, doesn't it?
It seems so. Believing in yourself, feeling calm, it helps your brain access what it knows more smoothly. Stress kind of jams the signal.
So positive self-talk fosters that relaxed state needed for clearer thinking and more natural speech flow.
Think about that presentation example again. Instead of, I'm going to mess up, consciously choosing, I'm ready, I've practiced, I'll do great.
Sends a positive message, boosts confidence.
And actually helps you perform better. Belief fuels ability, in a sense.
Okay, so summing up the brain benefits, neuroplasticity means positive thoughts physically help the brain adapt for learning. Staying calm via feel-good chemicals boosts focus. And that calm confidence helps fluency.
It's really empowering. You have control over those thoughts, those seeds. Choose the positive ones, practice them consistently, and you strengthen your brain for learning English.
Which sounds great in theory, but how do you actually start doing this? How do you practice positive self-talk day to day?
Good question. The sources stress it's about small, consistent steps, like planting tiny seeds of kindness for yourself regularly.
So step one is catching the negative thought.
Yes. Recognizing it in the moment. Like you're trying to speak and that I can't do this thought pops up. You need to notice it.
Like seeing a red light and hitting the brakes.
Exactly. Just awareness first. Then step two is consciously replacing it.
Swapping it out for something more positive.
Right. So instead of I can't do this, maybe try, okay, this feels hard right now, but I am learning. The key is being kind, acknowledging the process, not demanding perfection.
The sources had a simple process. Catch, challenge, replace.
Catch. I'm no good at English. Challenge. Wait, is that really true? Why do I think that? Replace. Actually, I'm getting better every day. I am improving.
Does it feel awkward at first?
Probably. The sources acknowledge that. Like learning anything new in English, it takes time and repetition. But the benefits come with practice.
What about creating specific sentences, like affirmations?
Yeah, that's another technique. Creating simple, positive statements you can use for a quick boost.
Like, I am capable of learning English.
Or, I'm improving daily. Mistakes are okay, they help me learn. I am confident speaking English. Things like that.
And make them personal, realistic, even if they feel like a bit of a stretch at first.
Exactly. Believable for you. And then how do you use them?
Write them down, maybe. Put them somewhere visible.
Definitely. Seeing them regularly helps reinforce the message. Desk, phone background, mirror.
And saying them out loud. Does that help?
The sources say it's powerful, even if it feels weird initially. Hearing yourself say it helps your brain believe it more, like a little pep talk.
I'm doing great. I'm proud I'm learning English. Something like that.
Yeah. Use them before you speak, before you study, or just when you feel a bit down about your progress.
And what about when things get genuinely difficult, like a tricky grammar rule?
That's a key time. Pause, take a breath, and use one of your positive sentences. This is challenging, but I am capable of figuring things out. It helps you relax and refocus instead of spiraling into negativity.
And the advice is to start small. Absolutely. Don't try to overhaul everything overnight. Pick 1 or 2 moments a day, maybe before one conversation or before studying, and focus on using positive self-talk then. Consistency is the key.
Okay, quick recap. Catch the negative, replace with positive, create some go-to positive sentences, write them down, say them out loud, practice daily, starting small.
That's the core of it. Now, how can we apply this specifically to daily English practice? Reading, writing, listening, speaking.
Right, making it practical for different skills. For reading, if you hit a tough part instead of, I don't understand.
Think something like, okay, I understood some words there and I'll probably get more tomorrow. Focus on the progress, not just the gaps. Reading gets better over time.
And for writing, if you're worried about mistakes.
Instead of, this is terrible writing, maybe shift to, I'm improving my writing bit by bit. That's how I learn. Seeing it as a process, mistakes included.
Listening can be tough when you feel lost.
Instead of, I can't understand anything, try focusing on what you did catch. Hey, I understood a few words. That's progress. I'll catch more next time. Acknowledge the small wins.
In speaking, the big one for many, that fear of sounding bad.
Replace, I sound stupid, with something kinder like, I'm doing my best right now and practice will make my English better. Be nice to yourself to overcome that fear. Mistakes are learning fuel.
The sources also mentioned something called self-coaching. What's that about?
It's basically talking to yourself like a kind, supportive teacher or friend would.
Ah, okay. Thinking about what you'd say to encourage someone else learning English.
Exactly. Things like, it's okay to make mistakes. You're learning, you're growing. Just keep practicing. Don't sweat it if it's hard right now.
And then applying that same encouragement to yourself when you feel frustrated or unsure.
Precisely. It helps keep you calm, focused, and motivated, rather than getting bogged down in self-criticism.
So, putting it all together for practice. Reading, celebrate what you get. Remember progress. Writing, focus on improvement. Mistakes are okay. Listening, acknowledge growth. Every little bit counts. Speaking to Jove, encourage yourself. Every attempt helps.
Yeah. Using positive self-talk and self-coaching transforms practice from something potentially stressful into something more encouraging, more motivating.
It removes that pressure of needing to be perfect right away. Just keep going, be kind to yourself. Learning is something to celebrate.
Well said. So use self-talk to see the progress, even when it's partial. Use self-coaching for that positive push. And be patient. It's definitely a journey.
Which brings us towards the end of this deep dive. That was a lot to unpack.
It really was. Great job sticking with us and exploring the power of your own inner voice today.
Absolutely. Just remember, every single time you choose to speak kindly to yourself, to encourage yourself.
You're actually helping your brain learn English better. You're building yourself up as a stronger, more confident speaker.
So our final thought for you is really just to embrace the whole process. Be patient with yourself along the way.
And really recognize the huge power your own inner voice has in shaping your success and your experience learning English.